I'm very excited to welcome Adam McBride, the Chief Strategy Officer of Emblem Vault. What we're doing is trying to discover early stage technology that has survived the crypto winter and is thriving. So really excited to hear what you have to say about Emblem Vault today, Adam.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here. Happy to introduce Emblem Vault to your audience.
There's been a huge bull market in NFTs, but it seems like one of the sectors that is still in the winter phase.
Oh yeah.
So that's I mean, obviously there's a huge potential for it, but what do you see as the future for NFTs? I'm sure you've seen sales dip, but
Yep.
do you think this is all just temporary?
I, I think NFTs and fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens are all just items on blockchains. I take this view of like we are at the early, most basic, literally first inning of what we're calling Web3. And the number of items or assets, as we're calling them now, is literally infinite. It's like the air we breathe. Okay. It literally is infinite. And how those items move, that infrastructure is the most important thing to me because right now everything's clunky. It's wallet based. It's I'm on Solana. I got to change to my Photon wallet. Now I'm on Bitcoin. I got to change to my Xverse wallet. It's all super clunky, right? If we're going to build this, internet of value that we're here for, that has to become seamless and invisible. And that's what we're doing at Emblem Vault, where it's just people won't care. People don't even care now where their assets are, right? In the crypto space, they just want to make money, right? They just want number to go up. So we're in that number go up stage. We believe there's something much more valuable, a much longer vision of how these assets move. But I don't worry about, what the price of my Bored Ape's going to be, right? I can't get too concerned about that because that's actually not the important thing. The important thing is how users interface with this. And then we move past, well, is it important that my Bored Ape is $50,000 or $40,000 to just, I own the internet and how those assets move. That's what we're excited about at Emblem Vault.
Yeah, I love that vision because you're absolutely right. And what's interesting about the space is it's all just like NFTs, and no one thinks that like NFT art is that big of a deal. But then it's like, okay, well, we're going to be tokenizing trillions of dollars of value one day.
Right.
So is that kind of the vision for how big this could
Yeah.
scale?
It's like when I just look at tokenizing assets as a more effective and efficient model, right? And so eventually it will win unless, either people just decide they don't want it, which I find unlikely. I think that bridge has already been passed. The only question then becomes, is this going to be a regulatory environment where this isn't going to be allowed to succeed? And I think it feels like we're at this tipping point where it's going to go one way or the other. My belief is that freedom wins and humans will choose freedom. And so I believe we'll get there. But the fight is certainly real. The fight's happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, the vision is that these assets will basically encompass all assets. All assets will be tokenized. Okay. Obviously, most of these assets are real world assets. Okay. And so we still need governments. We still need real world enforcement of who owns what. But the flow of those, how those assets trade, sell, ownership of those assets, in my view, that's going to be held on public blockchains because that's just a better system than what currently exists. And we could dive into that at all. If you've started a business or own a property, have bought a house, the pain of real world assets and how clunky that system is. I think we can all start to get the vision of how that can take place on blockchains far more efficiently.
Absolutely. I think BlackRock's already tokenized like $500 million on Ethereum. So I think it's almost a guarantee that they're going to be doing it.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm an NFT historian really at the core. And when you look back and these things were being talked about almost immediately upon Bitcoin's launch, right? And people
Yeah.
tried it with color coins in 2013, and we've tried it with Counterparty and Namecoin assets, and all these assets were kind of these attempts. But the infrastructure is not there. And I still think the infrastructure isn't here. Like that's what we're building, right? It takes the right market, it takes the right infrastructure, it takes the right users. All these things take time. And I think we get kind of a myopic view of like, oh, we're late. Dude, we're not late, dude. This is like something that may take another decade, 2 decades to truly build out where the market meets the technology, meets the infrastructure. Like all these things have to be in place to actually work. Like people tried NFTs, in 2016, 2017, 2013, people tried NFTs. They only worked in 2021, right? That's just the way this stuff is, right? People are trying social fi, right? It hasn't worked yet, you know.
Right.
And so this stuff just takes, in my view, I take a little bit longer view. This stuff just takes time.
Absolutely. And real world asset tokenization is the one key area that I think that's going to be the killer app for crypto because we're already seeing plans for trillions of dollars to come on chain. So it's coming.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how and when and where. So is that the vision for Emblem Vault to like be able to move a house that's tokenized from chain to chain, kind of?
I think what we're building is it's not going to matter, because we're not. I certainly am not, and I think most of our team realizes we're not smart enough to know the market. We actually found our first product market fit with historical NFTs, rare Pepe and older assets. Uh, our founder, Shannon Code, had no idea that that was going to be it. Zero, right? He was building infrastructure basically that allow you to trade wallets trustlessly, Bitcoin wallets, basically trustlessly. That was his original idea. That never took off. What took off was being able to trade historical NFTs, right?
Yeah.
So are meme coins across chain going to be it, or are houses online going to be it, or are Pokemon cards going to be it? Like we are certainly not smart enough to know what the market's going to want next. What we're trying to do is position ourselves to be ready for whatever is next. And I think we've already shown that we can do that. We did that with ordinals. You may not have heard of this stuff, but like there were things called ETH which like completely blew up. All that trading happened through Emblem Vault because we allow this kind of seamless ability to trade on different blockchains.
Interesting. So the big inscriptions craze, is that what
Yeah.
you're referring to? So
Yeah,
that
the
was,
inscriptions kit trays basically took off on Bitcoin, right, with
yeah,
ordinals,
yeah.
but immediately went to Litecoin, which we were the first to provide Litecoin support. That got very little traction, but then it got quite a lot of traction with like Dogecoin and Doginals. So we supported that. But then there was something on Ethereum called ETHscriptions, which are basically these on-chain NFTs, very inexpensive on Ethereum. These guys built this, what I call an L1 plus. It's not an L2, it's kind of on base layer, but it's very light, very inexpensive indexing system. And so yeah, I mean, basically all these subscription sales took place through Emblem Vault because we would just provide this infrastructure that was ready for it. Literally, the guy basically came out with this, protocol. Within a day, people were trading using Emblem Vault, using it on OpenSea. So yeah, that's how quickly we can react to kind of changing market conditions.
Yeah, see, that's huge. Like just the ability to do that. So
I think so.
yeah, yeah, because it just means you're gonna be ready. So like, so you can switch it on that fast, like Polkadot, for instance. I think inscriptions went to Polkadot in a big way. So you're that well positioned that if there's a big NFT craze, Emblem Vault could capture it and move it off between chains.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so much of it is connections in the industry and knowing different people. Like the subscription guys, we knew them, and we were able to assist them with, getting everything lined up with metadata and all that sort of stuff within 24 hours. The ordinals, Casey, we had Casey on our podcast, I don't know, 6 months before he launched ordinals, right? So we knew all about ordinals. We were there at the birth of ordinals, right? So being obviously connected in the industry is a big deal to kind of facilitate these kind of nascent, protocols and meta protocols. And we've had obviously a massive explosion of those over the last year, which has been a lot of fun. And we're ready for what's next. I mean, part of me says, well, are we going to, do something with Base and, or Blast and bring stuff there? I mean, we're certainly already working with, the Bitcoin L2s that are being developed. There's a ton of money and activity happening on Bitcoin and L2s. On Bitcoin, are any of those going to succeed? Is Stacks going to be the only one? I don't know. This is where it gets kind of, markets are markets. You never can tell what's going to happen. But certainly we're working with them to bring, I mean, part of the cool idea is like, hey, this is Bitcoin L2s. Let's bring assets from every other chain onto the mother chain, right? As people call it, Emblem Vault is uniquely positioned to do that. So, it's a fun time because we have lots of opportunities and lots of building happening, trying to make all this stuff happen.
Yeah, I love that just way to get exposure to the Bitcoin ecosystem without owning Bitcoin. Because obviously there's a lot of money on Bitcoin. It almost seems like it can almost do what every other chain can do, which is scary for other chains. Because why wouldn't you want to build on Bitcoin, which is the most secure one? So you guys are well positioned to take advantage of any sort of NFT growth on Bitcoin, which is pretty massive.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm actually really interested to see how the fungible aspect works out and how Emblem can fit into the fungible ecosphere. So far, it hasn't happened. But we are kind of in this really unique position. And so it's going to be exciting. Like if we bring, dog to base, right? Would that be something that people who trade meme coins on base are excited about or not? Right. I don't know. It would immediately provide access to liquidity for dog, which can get really clunky on Bitcoin right now. So would that work or not? You don't know until you build it. And so we're in the process of building out kind of that sort of infrastructure. So we'll see how, we kind of crushed the non-fungibles in 21. We'll see if we can crush the fungibles in 2024.
Yeah, I would want to. I mean, because I remember during the ordinals craze, it was like really hard to buy Bitcoin NFTs. So I would
Totally.
absolutely want to be able to trade it on Coinbase. Like that'd be awesome.
Yep. Totally. Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So are there any other competitors that are having as much scale as you guys so far?
Well, in the non-fungible space, no, we're basically the leader. We have over $100 million in total value locked through our vaults. But there is competition, and the competition typically, you've probably heard of Wormhole. Okay,
Yeah.
these are the big boys. They raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Right, we're a bootstrapped company. We've never raised money. Right, so we're a different player. But what they do is something completely different than what we do. So you may have heard of like DGods. They've helped the DGod teams. We know Frank and DGods, right? What they do with like DGods is if you want to move your DGod from Solana to Ethereum, you burn your DGod on Solana and they mint you a brand new one on Ethereum. Okay.
Oh,
That has value, right? I'm not saying that doesn't have value. Like I think that is a lot of value for kind of low value, gaming NFTs, gaming assets and stuff where it just needs to kind of be everywhere on all chains. Totally agree. That totally works. But for some, imagine say you wanted to take your CryptoPunk from Ethereum to Solana. Would you be interested in burning that CryptoPunk and minting a new one on Solana? I don't think you would. I think you would be terrified. You think it would ruin the provenance. Not a good option, right? We provide that ability where the provenance is maintained the entire time. If anybody wants to come back to the original chain and get access to that original asset, we're uniquely positioned. We're the only company in the world that does that. And along with that, we're the only like Wormhole interfaces only with, EVM type chains. We can completely interface and are known for interacting with Bitcoin and all the UTXO chains. So, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Bell's coin, all these coins that are UTXO based, all these chains that are UTXO based, Emblem's uniquely positioned to manage those.
very cool. So how would people get exposure to kind of investing in this technology as it grows?
Well, right now you can't. You could contact us and maybe you want to make an investment. We haven't done a raise yet, but you could, just DM me on Twitter, Adam A. McBride on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. You can DM me, and if we do a raise, I'll hit you back up. But right now we're not in the raising process.
Yeah, well, I love hearing that you're not looking for money. That's good. It means you don't need it right now.
Yeah.
So, well, what about the token associated with the project, COVAL?
Yeah. So COVAL was launched previously when basically our founder, Shannon Cohn, was basically him, and we had two people on the team back then. And like he used that, that was launched and helped build Emblem. So COVAL will always be a part of Emblem. And as I was talking to you offline, it's Coinbase has said they're going to delist COVAL along with, dozens and hundreds of other tokens over the coming months. So, we're going to react to that and we'll readjust, if we do kind of new tokenomics, when we do new tokenomics, I should say, COVAL will be a part of that. And what that means, we're going to figure that out. But certainly, we're not going to leave our COVAL holders in the dust. We're going to include them in whatever Emblem has going forward.
Okay, so that's a way to get exposure to the
Mhm.
ecosystem without
For sure.
investing direct. I mean, it did a 4 or 5x since October up until the top, so that's good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are building. It's kind of like we build very much in public. We do monthly town halls and let everybody know what we're doing. Um, you can never satisfy everyone, right? Everybody, this is a number go up industry. So there is some pressure there, but the reality is that we think we're building this infrastructure for the long term. And COVAL holders, like, I understand you want number to go up today, but we're building something here that is foundational to the layer of Web3, a foundational layer. And so you might have to have a multi-year vision for us here. I certainly do, and I'm not interested in necessarily pumping the price for a month or 6 months or something like that. I'm interested in building out a key piece of infrastructure for Web3. And so that's what we're really about. And if you're about that, like, yeah, hop on board.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, so that's huge. So what I look at is, assets that are growing. Obviously, Vault is. You guys are developing breakthrough technology. You survived the crypto winter. There's this token, which is it just like kind of a decentralized Ethereum asset?
Basically, what it was it was a utility token. So in order to create vaults in the past, you
Yeah.
had to use COVAL.
Okay.
We understand that that model can't work in a Web3 future. It can't be that clunky. It can't require somebody to go buy a native token, then interact with a protocol. There's no way that that works going forward.
Mm.
So we changed the model. We changed the model to, if you're minting a vault on Ethereum, all you need is ETH, right? But in the future, like, we're going to be on basically every chain. So do I even want, if you're minting a vault on Solana, do I want you to have to get Ethereum? Of course not. You're going to be able to use the native token. You're going to be so seamless is the way we're building. How that looks as far as tokenomics goes, we have some interesting plans, but I'm not going to announce anything yet because nothing's finalized right now. But we do have interesting plans about tokenomics and the way we'll move forward with it. It's part of our larger growth, strategy, but I
Okay.
can't really talk about it right now.
No worries. That's good though. So it's part of this growing ecosystem you guys are building.
Yep.
So then, okay, great. So then I guess like, could you talk a little bit about the team and what you guys do, your credentials, what you're about? Because it is a crucial component of understanding the space, this project and where it's going.
Sure. Well, our lead founder, Shannon Code, is, we talk about gigabrains a lot in the space, but I found there are few, but he is truly one. He started basically in 2013 with Mastercoin. He was their like chief security officer. So he's super high level and has been here for obviously now more than a decade. So the guy is gigabrain. I mean, this is why when right now, we didn't talk about it yet, but we've basically done the largest NFT migration in crypto's history. We moved, over 50,000 assets from our old NFT contracts to brand new, updated contracts over the last year. So we've done this massive, heavy lift, and he's our key player. So, the company really hangs on Shannon and is built foundationally on just Uber devs. And so, that I think for the company provides this incredible moat, because, just from a business perspective, and I just myself, a little bit about me, I live in Costa Rica and I've been here for about 25 years. I've had businesses since I was literally 12 years old, got into crypto in 2016, trying to build a business around ICOs. I thought ICOs were a tremendous idea to raise capital on a global scale for businesses. Turned out 99% of those were, just people doing money grab scams. I still think that model has tremendous value. The problem is it bumps up against US regulations, right? So it can't happen. But I do believe that, raising money globally, like I've done Kickstarters for businesses before, that model works. Why not be able to raise money globally? It gets back to this like real world asset thing, right?
Yeah.
think we need a complete redo of, the securities industry and all of it to allow for tokenization of companies, businesses, all that sort of stuff, right? So sorry to go down that rabbit hole, but that's my kind of business background. And so, yeah, I got into crypto in 2016. Our CEO, Jake Allen, also got into crypto around 2016, 17. And so we have this history of, we've been in the industry for multiple decades, our team and founders. And so, but we believe that we're building something here for the long term as a foundational piece of infrastructure for Web3. So, how it goes and moves and how the company goes and moves, I think we're small enough as a team. There are 6 of us now where we're flexible. We have that flexibility. There's no giant corporation. We've seen it already with giant corporations in the space. They just get moved on, and we're not at that stage at all, right? We're completely nimble and flexible, and we've shown that over the last 18 months with ordinals and inscriptions and all this sort of stuff where we can take advantage of this sort of stuff while still building this base layer infrastructure.
So this is all good stuff, obviously, right? We have adoption. We have a token that's going to be used in the future. We have a strong team. Exciting. So anything else that excites you about the future of this project? You mentioned a marketplace. Like what have we not covered that people need to know?
I mean, just to get on the marketplace thing, it's like people would say, well, why did you do a marketplace? Like OpenSea's dead. Haven't you heard? Like, I know it. But what I would say is this: what the marketplace is really, it's a cross-chain hub, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's a place where you can take your NFT. Right now, it's very basic. We're only on a few chains, but right now, you can go there and you can, mint a Bitcoin NFT and put it on Ethereum and buy and sell on Ethereum right through our website. But in the future, and I'm talking soon, like 6-8 months, you'll be able to not only take your, say, Bitcoin ordinal and put it on Ethereum, but you'll also be able to, in one button, jump it to Solana to take advantage of whatever, some, staking protocol or whatever, or bring it back to Ethereum and do lending, right? Or whatever, take it to some L2, take it to Blast because Pac-Man's doing an airdrop for super rare NFTs, whatever, right? We're basically making that hub where you will just be able to move your assets with basically one button, jumping, we're calling it, and move your assets cross-chain. So I think that's pretty exciting. Come and check it out. You can see all our rare Pepes there. We have literally tens of millions of dollars in rare Pepes, probably the largest place to buy and sell rare Pepes. But Spells of Genesis, all these kind of old historical NFTs, which are my passion. And one of the reasons I got heavily back into crypto in 2021 was this idea of like historical NFTs, which I think are really cool. So we're kind of the number one spot for that.
I think now is the time to invest in NFTs when, like you're saying, people think OpenSea is dead. Like, I don't know why it would be a big thing a few years ago and now it just died. I don't think so. I think there's a future for it. So,
well, I mean, my gut always goes to things that have moved the needle, things that are well known kind of beyond the crypto sphere. But my heart also goes to this idea of historical NFTs. And if you've never heard of historical NFTs or that idea, the idea was that pre kind of 2018, there were only a handful of people actually making things that we now call NFTs, right? So there are only a handful of these projects. Literally, in the time we've been talking just now, more NFTs have been launched and made than pre-2018. Like all of pre-2018, all those NFTs that were made back then are less than in the time we've been talking, right? So in a decade, when this vision of Web3 exists, where NFTs are everywhere, everything we do is NFTs and assets on chain, will collectors hold those as special? And I think they will, right? Will CryptoPunks be more special because they're globally recognized? Very possible. Will, I don't know, the Nakamoto Rare Pepe card be worth tens of millions of dollars? Certainly possible, right? So I look at those, which ones of those are kind of the most interesting, And for those I again, you lean into rare Pepes. Do I lean into like maybe Spells of Genesis, which are like some of the first gaming assets of all time? Sure. Do I look at maybe Namecoin assets, which have all these issues and problems with, they you had to renew them and all this crazy blockchain stuff that wasn't figured out? Sure. I mean, how you value them is like up for debate, but are those interesting? Absolutely. There's some of the first assets on blockchains ever, right? Are some colored coins interesting? Sure. So, how you value all this stuff, that's for collectors to debate for eternity. But all that stuff is really interesting. Anything kind of pre ERC 721, I think is really cool and interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is a brand new thing, just that there's all this digital junk being created now.
All of it, yeah.
So
I
it
mean,
just,
look, there's digital junk pre 2018. Like most of it is junk. And I'm not
right.
saying it's not junk, right? I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's, there was just stuff put out. Um, but that doesn't mean it's also not interesting because stuff that was put out, you know, was people trying stuff back then, right? Like literally one of these old projects that I helped kind of rediscover in 2021 was one called Pixelmap, which this guy Ken was literally learning how to interface and learning to code on Solidity. So the way he learned was to build projects, and the project he built was Pixelmap, which is like 4,000 little tiles on a map, right?
Yeah.
That's for collectors. That's really interesting. Like it's an interesting thing, you know. If they're worth $5 or $5,000, doesn't really matter right now. I think it will matter tremendously though in a decade or two, tremendously.
I think so too. I think it's like art. Like you're gonna have obviously there's people painting all the time. But there's some that just skyrocket.
Yeah,
So
I mean, look, this is where it gets into like, okay, well, how do you value stuff, right? This is, if there were an algorithm for that, we'd all be using it. There isn't, right? It's attention, it's importance, right? Obviously, an X copy is going to be a heck of a lot worth more than something that I put out, right?
yeah.
But I also know people who bought X copies for $1, right? So, the value is at that particular sliver in time. It's that individual collector. It's the market. There's so much to it that's where it gets fun, and you can kind of join these communities and debate about what is value, has value, why it has value. That's like a never-ending story. But I think the overall idea of early NFTs is something that I think will only grow in significance over time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like the painters of the period. I forget which one it is. The Impressionist painters, like they were just throwing out stuff and now they're all gone and it's all just priceless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exactly like that. Very exciting to dig into that.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, how many people are really in like Web3 and crypto, like really in it?
Yeah.
It's not many people. It's really not. And what happens when like the world is in Web3? Like people truly understand that you can even own digital items. Like still, the majority of the world has no idea what that even means, right?
Right.
They have no idea what a public blockchain is. They don't even know, right?
Right.
When people actually know, if this is really adopted and people actually know what that is, um, that's what we're all working for, right? We have to get that adoption first. If that adoption doesn't happen, all this stuff is worthless, right? We have to
Yeah.
get that adoption to happen. And that's for all of us to keep putting out podcasts, talking about, blogging about, waking people up to this idea of digital ownership.
Yeah. But the most exciting thing is I don't think it's a if, I think it's a when, because like Swift is already tokenizing everything with Chainlink. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, once people realize that, then the art is going to be insane. So that is huge. So where is the exchange for where can people go to find that exchange? And then anything else you want to share about?
Sure. Just go to emblem.markets, EMBLEM, emblem.markets, and you can check it out there. Yeah, just follow us on Twitter. We do multiple Twitter spaces every week, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can follow the Emblem Vault account on Twitter. We do Twitter spaces, and I'm on Twitter spaces all the time, virtually every day. So I live on Twitter. My DMs are open. So if anybody has any questions, wants to collab, we're working with, and I'm not going to announce anything, but we're working with teams who are already beginning to see this idea of moving their NFTs across chain. So we'll have some announcements coming up. You already see it. Like I don't know if you like 2 weeks ago, Goblin Town announces they're going to move cross chain. Frank D Gods has obviously leaned into that. It's happening, and I think the smartest, founders, Pudgy Penguins, just announced they're launching their own L2, and obviously the Penguins are going to move cross chain, right? This is happening. The biggest founders in the world are already leaning into that. If you want to do that and maintain the provenance of your project, simply reach out. We can help you do it, and not only make you move from, say, Ethereum to Base, but give your collectors the ability to move from Ethereum to Base to every other chain on Earth, right? That's what we're building. And if you want that functionality, just contact Emblem Vault.
Yeah, obviously everyone would want that functionality. I
Why
mean,
wouldn't you, man? It's a no-brainer. It literally
it-
is a no-brainer. Like, it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
yeah, because Doodles moved to Flow and now they're moving back. And these
Yeah.
projects keep doing that, right?
And see what they've done though is either they're using a bridge where you're sending your asset to a smart contract with obviously has significant risks. We all know about bridges, or they're burning the token and reminting, as I mentioned before. And so
Yeah.
burning and minting, obviously there's your provenance is wrecked, gets screwed up, you get splits of communities. So we're working to provide a much better solution for these communities.